You're welcome back. Let's now head over live to the appeal court venue of the Presidential Election Petition Court, where the chairman of the APC is speaking.
Allegations, complaints by the opposition, all the three consolidated petitions have been exhausted, especially the issue of disqualification of our presidential candidate and his running mate, or the vice president at the moment. You can see how that one was dispensed. Also the issue of malpractices in the election. You could see how the judges were able to treat it and dispensed everything. And we're happy that this program was done live so that Nigerians will definitely know what has happened, instead of relying on social media where some political parties are inciting people. If APC is being manipulating the result, how can we lose presidential election in Katsina State, which was the state of the existing president at that time? And how can we lose presidential election in Lagos, where we have our own presidential candidate? So you can see that APC has done a lot, and we have to thank our followers, and we are now ready to continue giving dividends of democracy to the people of Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. What is
Well, those are live images from the Court of Appeal venue of the Presidential Election Petition Court, where the chairman of the APC, Mr. Abdullahi Ganduje, just spoke. But let's bring you more on today's judgment. We're joined on the news at 10 by a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Adeleke Agbola. He joins us live in our Lagos studio. It's good to have you on the news at 10.
Thank you, Cardi.
For a lot of Nigerians, this is maybe new, watching over 12 hours of a judgment being delivered, but clearly not for you. But I'd like to just get your take on this judgment. What do you make of it?
Well, we have just been treated to a well-written, well-dissected, well-researched judgment by the Court of Appeal. They have done a good job of listening to all the parties, going through the evidence submitted, and coming to a reasoned conclusion. We can never satisfy everybody, but in my opinion, the judges have done a very brilliant job under very difficult circumstances.
Well, swiftly after that judgment was given, the Labour Party rejected the court's ruling, saying that justice was not served and it did not reflect the law and the desire of the people. So for a lot of people who've seen the judgment, what do you look out for when you want to decide that aphorism, that justice must not only be done, but must also be seen to be done?
Yes, as a party to the petition, Labour Party is well within its right to criticize or say it does not agree with the judgment. That is within their constitutional right. But for a disinterested observer who have been monitoring from the time the petition was filed to the time evidence was being given, and to when you look at the caliber of lawyers that have represented all the parties, I think justice has been served. When the first part of the statement by Labour Party is, of course, debatable, but the issue of saying what the people desire, that is not the function of the court. The function of the court is to give judgment according to the law and in accordance with the facts presented before them. They may be wrong. That is why you have an appeal process in place, but I think they have done a very good job with the resources at their disposal.
Yeah, I think it was a Chief Justice who described Nigeria's political class as being the most litigious people on earth, literally. And for those who still feel hard done by, what are the options available now?
Well, I think a small step has been taken today by the tribunal justices by finding the parties who have been alleged to have brought frivolous petitions. It's still a very tiny amount of money paid by them, which is not enough to cover the cost of any of the lawyers retained by them anyway. And I think the era of frivolous petitions will gradually come to an end when sanctions are applied, not to prevent people from coming to court, but to ensure that matters that come to court are ones that are genuine. When you look at what has happened to the lawyers of Donald Trump in the United States, almost all the lawyers that appear for Donald Trump are facing one problem or the other. Some of them have been disbarred. Some of them have criminal proceedings being given against them. It shows the system, where the system works. That you don't just wake up just because you lost an election and you say you want to go to court. That should not be the reason. You should only come to court when you believe that, yes, I lost, but I've not lost fairly. And the burden, as a court, all the judges emphasize today in their judgment, is that the burden is on you. You are the one who is saying, I've been hard done by. You are the one to present your evidence to show that you have been that is not a frivolous petition. What we have been seeing a lot in our court system, with all due respect to the counsels representing the parties, that a lot of petitions ought not to be filed. And I'm happy, to be honest, with the fines imposed, because once you say it's frivolous, then people must pay for it. It is small, but it's a good beginning.
So we see that there's still the Supreme Court option available.
Yes.
As we wind down in less than 30 seconds now, a lot of people were asking, why didn't they see the faces of the justices? And they kept wondering, what provisions are responsible for that?
Well, the press pushed, and some of the parties pushed for live transmission of the proceedings. The courtroom is not a theater where you go and look at people's faces. You just want to hear what are the decisions. And I'm sure nobody has lost anything by the face of the judges not being shown. When you see the way judges have been threatening in respect of these proceedings, where people have even targeted their children, anything that can be done to restrict the attacks on their persons, I think is justified.
Mr. Adeleke Agbola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, thank you so much for your time on the News at 10.
Thank you.
Well, still ahead on the News at 10, African Airlines passenger traffic climbs 25.6% in July, according to International Air Transport Association report. Well, that's in business news. Join us again. You're welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the News at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. The verdict is in. Presidential Election Petition Tribunal dismisses petitions of the APM, Labour Party and the PDP, as well as their candidates, upholds the victory of President Bola Tinubu for the 2023 presidential election. President Tinubu welcomes judgment, while Labour Party says it rejects the outcome of a judgment in its entirety. Kogi State Election Petition Tribunal declares PDP's Natasha Akpotiuduaghan winner of Kogi Central Senatorial election, nullifies the victory of APC's Abubakar Ohere. And former leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, has been jailed for 22 years for orchestrating attack on U.S. Capitol Hill on January the 6th, 2021. Let's bring you more action from the nation's capital, but this time from our Abuja studio where Terry Kumi is sitting by. Good to see you, Terry.
It's always good to see you as well, Coyote. Now let's go outside the country, but news related to Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu has commended Indian investors for significant investment pledges amounting to almost $14 billion committed during the Nigeria-India Presidential Roundtable and Conference in New Delhi, India. Some of the investments include Indorama Petrochemical Limited, which has pledged a new investment of $8 billion in the expansion of its fertilizer production and petrochemical facility in Eleme River State, and Jindal Steel and Power Limited, one of India's largest private steel producers, which has committed to investing $3 billion in Nigeria, following discussions with President Bola Tinubu on the sidelines of the G20 summit in New Delhi, India. The president has also approved finalization on a new $1 billion agreement to bring the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, to 40% self-sufficiency in local manufacturing and production of defense equipment in the country by 2027. through a comprehensive new partnership with the managing arm of the military-industrial complex of the Indian government. The president who assured the investors that Nigeria is ready to give them the best returns on their investment says it is not in their interest to procrastinate.
It is in your hand. And I promise you, just don't keep quiet. Don't procrastinate. Don't be frightened about investments in Nigeria. Bring it home. Ask your questions. Make your requests. The trade and investment opportunity is enormous. I have a team, and I am the captain of that team. I assure you, we solve problems.
Now, today marks the first 100 days since President Bola Tinubu assumed office. The government believes that the nation is moving in the right direction because of the steps taken by the president. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports that the first 100 days of the president has received mixed reactions from Nigerians.
After an intense election, the inauguration day ushers in a new administration for the country.
Aye. Bola.
Senator Bola Tinubu was sworn in as the 16th president of Nigeria, and in his inaugural address, he highlights the driving spirit of his administration.
Our administration will govern you only on your behalf, but never rule over you.
He then made this pronouncement.
No provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone.
This led to an immediate increase in the price of petrol and queues across the country.
Prayers of NLC is that we go back to status quo, negotiate, think of alternatives, and all the effects and how to manage the effects this action is going to have on the people. If it is an action that must take off.
You don't just come on your first day in your speech. There was nothing to hurry about. You can wait 1 week, 2 weeks, and say, subsidy is gone, without looking at the repercussions, immediate repercussions. Since then, Nigeria has not recovered.
The government has also taken steps to rebuild the nation's economy by announcing key reforms in the nation's foreign exchange market, as well as taxation.
In his first 100 days, in fact, within his first month in office, and in fact, within his first days in office, we saw Mr. President remove the long-standing fuel subsidy, a real encumbrance on our ability to finance investments in critical infrastructure across multiple sectors of the economy, and also, of course, the bold unification of the foreign exchange rates, which is also positioning us to be able to save scarce revenues in foreign exchange to ensure that we're in a position to share excess revenues to the states and subnational governments of the country to deliver those core services to our people.
However, some Nigerians see it as a tough ride.
The administration came in at a peculiarly difficult time in Nigeria's history. Economically, we were going down very rapidly as a country. Socially, there was lack of cohesion. And in terms of security, we're in a pretty bad shape than we've ever known it for a long time. So that is to say the administration inherited a lot of challenges.
Now citizens have to, have to combat with the fuel prices that have increased twice within a month or two. And these are things that have also affected the general price of goods and services within the country.
To cushion the effect of the subsidy removal, the government rolled out a number of intervention programs, including plans to review the national minimum wage. The government also supports states and local governments to enable them to cater to the most vulnerable persons in their state while providing fertilizers to farmers and grains to households. There's also a plan to transfer cash to low-income earners.
These bold economic reforms that are backed by almost consensus opinion, both within the country and outside of the country, that are the right steps for the future of our economy and the future of our people, come with short-term pains. We are acutely aware of the fact that food prices are rising, energy prices are rising, wages are stagnating. There are serious challenges confronting our families in the country, which is why Mr. President spends every waking day, morning to night, thinking of how he's going to swiftly implement the solutions he's brought to bear.
I think the government should begin now to step up palliatives. In some situations, we'll have thought the palliatives will come first.
An official of government highlights the impact of the administration on security.
We are very convinced that over the course of the last 100 days, based simply not on sentiment but on fact, on black and white numbers, that we are trending in the right direction with respect to security, but we are also not in a position to be slapping ourselves on the back and clapping. Look, we still have work to do.
While there will be different opinions as regards how the administration has fared in the last 100 days, what is clear is that this administration has over 3 years to make good its promises to Nigerians. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
The leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress has directed all its members to go back to work as a 2-day warning strike ends midnight of Tuesday, September the 6th. A statement signed by the NLC President, Mr. Joe Ajaero, thanked workers for enforcing the sit-at-home directives by the NLC leadership to protest against the failure of the government to address their demands. He urges Nigerian workers to maintain the same resolve when the NLC declares an indefinite strike should the federal government continue to pay deaf ears to their demands. And that's it from the nation's capital. Back to you, Coyote.
Well, thanks a lot, Terry. Back here in Lagos, some students of the University of Lagos are asking for a downward review of the school fees, which they say have gone up by more than 600%. The students were speaking during a protest outside their school gate, where they described the increment as insensitive. But the school authorities saying the upward review was done after consultation with some of the student leaders, their parents, and other stakeholders. Our correspondent, Timothy Crown at Deribigbe, reports.
It's a heavy presence of security operatives here at the main gate of the University of Lagos. They are here to stop the protest by some students who are challenging the increment in their fees. The DSS, police, NSCDC, LASMA, and other law enforcement agents are on the ground to ensure that the protest does not hold. The action is already taking a toll on members of the university community and, of course, the communities around the university environment. The students are challenging the decision of the university to increase their fee by what they say is over 600%. Some of the organizers of the protest allege that the police shot at them and arrested some of the early birds for the protest, reason for the calm ambience.
What Unilag management just did right now is that it's like you beating a student. When you're telling he or she not to cry, why will you do something that I'm not comfortable with? And you expect me to be okay with it? It's not good, it's not ideal. We are not even fighting, I'm not armed.
No student is allowed entry to the campus, and anyone else who would enter must be cleared. Some of the students hang around, hopeful of entering. The angry students are now backing down as they reorganize and head back to the school gate. There's traffic jam and motorists find alternative routes out of this access.
Let the power that be consider the poor men, consider the poor people. I have 2 of them here, undergraduates. So how do we afford to pay this money?
The school management insists the upward review of obligatory charges is to cope with recent economic reality.
Monthly, we pay between 160 to 180 million for electricity bill, monthly, when students are on campus. So how do we go about that? And they don't want light to go just for a second. So if you want to provide a 21st century education, all these things must be running. The question is, do you want the university to run or not? it's becoming obvious that the university cannot run on what students have been paying for almost 20 years now.
The students are alleging victimization of some of the protesters by the school management.
We are just here to make a request known to the VC and the management that this is what is happening. Imagine the school fees being increased from 16,000 naira to over 100K just within a month.
We understand that there is an increment because of the economic state of the country. But out of the plea and the fatherly love of the president of this country, he gave a directive to all federal institutions to suspend and put on hold all forms of increments in the institution. But yet, the management of University of Lagos turned a blind ear.
Beside their original demands, the protesters are asking for the release of some of their colleagues who were arrested. Timothy Crown, Aderibigbe, Channels Television News.
Well, business news is next on the news at 10 with Anne Uwaodo.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Kayode. Hello and welcome to Business News. The International Air Transport Association, IATA, says that global passenger air travel has surpassed pre-pandemic levels, with total traffic reaching 95.6% in the month of July. According to data by the International Airline Regulator, Africa accounted for 2.1% of the global passenger air travel market. A further breakdown shows that African passenger traffic rose by 25.6% in the month of July this year, the second highest among regions, while capacity was up to 27.4%, making it the only region to see capacity growth outrun the traffic demand. The NGX Regulation Limited is asking banks in the country to swiftly integrate environmental, social, and governance principles into their business strategies in order to enhance their competitive edge in the global market. The NGX Regulation Limited's Chief Executive Officer, Ms. Tinubu, made this known today at the 16th Annual Banking and Finance Conference in Abuja. She stresses that early adoption of ESG standards is a critical move for the country, as it ensures consistency and attracts foreign investment. Let's head to the equities market now. It recorded its first pullback this week. Investors took profits in Dangote Sugar. Laddie Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, for the third trading day of the week, investors take a breather with a marginal decline, allowing the bear to make an appearance. I would say that with yesterday's marginal close, it did feel like the bulls were losing steam, and we see that right here, 0.07% marginal decrease we're seeing there. Market cap 37 trillion. Let's look at the activity chart there. Less activity.
Well, thank you, Anne. Outside the country, the ousted president of the Republic of Gabon has been freed from detention after spending about a week under house arrest. According to a statement by the self-proclaimed interim president, General Brice Nguema, via state television, the former president has the freedom of movement and can travel abroad if he wishes. For more on this and other international stories, here's Simon Pusey in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Proud Boys' former leader, Enrique Tarrio, has been jailed for 22 years for orchestrating the attack on the US Capitol on the 6th of January 2021. It is the longest sentence handed down so far over the attack, which happened as lawmakers were certifying President Joe Biden's 2020 election victory. Tarrio was not in Washington during the riot, but helped organize the far-right group's involvement. As he was led from court, he flashed the two-fingered peace or victory sign. The Department of Justice's sprawling investigation into the riot has so far seen more than 1,100 people arrested and charged.
We didn't have much time to speak afterwards, but of course it all caught us a little bit off guard, where the sentence was imposed in the manner it was imposed, as far as sentence of 22 years, being one that was run consecutive to another. But yet that's what the appellate process is for, right? So that's where we're here. That's what we anticipate is going to go forward from this point on.
Torrential rain and winds caused by a cyclone have left at least 27 people dead in southern Brazil, with more flooding expected. The governor of Rio Grande do Sul said it was the state's worst ever weather disaster. Thousands have been forced from their homes. In Mucum, a town of 5,000 people, hundreds had to be rescued from their rooftops as 85% of the town was flooded. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva said the federal government was ready to help. African leaders have proposed new global taxes and reforms to international financial institutions to help fund climate change action. The Nairobi Declaration capped the three-day Africa Climate Summit in Kenya, which was dominated by discussions of how to mobilize financing to adapt to increasingly extreme weather, conserve natural resources, and develop renewable energy. Organisers emphasised market-based solutions such as carbon credits in the lead-up to the summit.
As a continent, we have developed our common position, which encapsulates our ambition for socio-economic transformation and our climate action agenda. This position is anchored on the potential that Africa holds to decarbonize the global economy and set the stage for green industrialization throughout the world.
The main border crossing between Pakistan and Afghanistan has closed after forces there fired on each other. Local residents ran for cover as the sound of gunfire rang out at the main border crossing between Afghanistan and Pakistan, with Pakistan saying security forces from both countries had exchanged fire. The Torkham border point, the main point of transit for travellers and goods, was closed after the incident. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Kyiv in Ukraine in a gesture of support for the country's counteroffensive against Russian forces, which has ground into its fourth month. During his two-day visit, Blinken is likely to announce a new package of US assistance worth more than $1 billion. That's according to a senior State Department official.
I'm here in large part at the behest of President Biden.
Blinken, on his fourth overall visit, is the top US official to visit Kyiv since the Ukrainian counteroffensive began. The UK government has finally published a list of schools identified with collapse-prone concrete after days of mounting pressure. The document showed the start of term had to be delayed at 19 schools around the country as a result of reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete, or RAC. The list came just before the first Prime Minister's questions since the summer recess, where Prime Minister Rishi Sunak told the Commons the government had acted decisively to ensure the safety of children. And a Congolese arts refuge is helping street children find their voice, giving them the chance to express themselves through music and rap. A small recording booth in the outskirts of the capital, Kinshasa, has become a safe space for homeless teenagers to sing about their life on the streets and dreams of a brighter future. The chance to record in a studio has inspired dozens of poor but determined children to dream big. The founder hopes the skills they hone will help children find their feet and their voices. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Well, let's now bring you moments of celebration from faraway India as the presidential election petition court delivered its judgment here in Nigeria. Well, the visibly excited President Bola Tinubu is being congratulated by his entourage to the G20 summit in New Delhi, India, with the famous On Your Mandate song ringing in the air. So they see the president shaking members of his entourage to New Delhi, India, just right after the judgment was given at the Court of Appeal venue of the Presidential Election Petition Court.
On your mandate we shall stand. On your mandate we shall stand. On your mandate we shall stand. On your mandate, Father, on your mandate, Father, on your mandate we shall stand.
And back home, we begin with the exciting news that Victor Osimhen and Aziza Oshoala has been nominated for the prestigious Ballon d'Or award in the male and female categories. Osimhen's heroics in Napoli earned him a spot on the 30-man list, while Oshoala's outstanding contribution for Barcelona put her among 30 female footballers who could win the award, and this makes Nigeria the first African country to have both a female and male player on the nomination list for the October 30th event in Paris. Now it's a full house in the camp of the Super Eagles of Nigeria in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State capital, as they prepare for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Sao Tome and Principe. All 23 invited players are already in camp ahead of Sunday's match by 5 p.m. at the Gospel Akwa Ibom International Stadium, meanwhile Nigeria has already qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire next year. And that's it on sports. Kyle, it is back to you.
Well, thank you, Jeffrey. And the main news again. The Presidential Election Petition Court today dismissed the petitions of the Allied People's Movement, APM, Labour Party, and the People's Democratic Party, PDP, as well as their candidates, challenging the victory of President Bola Tinubu in the 2023 presidential election. What a day it's been. That's the news at 10 for tonight, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Okikule. Good night.